Users will need a way to edit classifieds once they're created. In this lecture, we'll see how we can do that by leveraging the form that we already created for adding in new classifieds. Alright, so we've got creating new classifieds down. Next, let's put in some functionality to edit existing classifieds. And you'll remember that we put in some controls for this already. If we go over here to our admin area on any of our classifieds, we've got this edit control. And right now it's not doing anything, but we'll want to wire up a method to be called when this edit button is clicked. So let's go over to our HTML and put that method call in place. So over here, we've got our edit button sitting just down here. So let's add a click to that, an ng click, and we'll want to call a method that we'll create in our controller in just a sec called edit classified. All right, and what we're going to need to do is pass through to the controller the specific classified that should be edited. And the way that we can do that is we can pass classified here. And in this case, classified that we're passing through here is lining up with the current classified that we're iterating over. So you'll remember here from our ng repeat that we're repeating over all of our classifieds in the array that we have. And this classified here is the current classified add that we're on, the current object within this classifieds array. And so then we can pass it through to this method right here, and this will pass the specific object that we are currently on over to this edit classifieds method. Now you might be wondering, well, what is distinct between this classified here and up here where we've also used classified to pass through data for our new classified adds? And the answer is that this ng repeat here creates a new scope that is distinct from any other scope that we have over here. So in effect, these two items are kind of separated. If we wanted to avoid some kind of confusion, we could call these different names. We could come over here and instead of saying classified image, we could call this something like new classified. But because we are going to be using this form for editing classifieds as well, it's good to keep things a bit generic. So let's just leave that as classified. All right, so once again, we are taking the current classified that we are iterating over and we're passing it through to this edit classified method. So now let's create that method. So over here in our controller, we'll come down and we will create a new method down here called edit classified, and we'll put it on scope. So scope edit classified is going to be a function. And in this edit classified method, we'll need a few things. So the first thing that we'll want is to have some way to inform the view whether or not we're currently editing a classified. And the reason for this is because we need to conditionally hide and show certain elements whenever we are editing. So to do that, we can just put on scope a simple property, maybe we'll call it editing. So when this button is clicked that has the edit classified method attached to it, we'll say scope editing equals true. And the way that we can tap into this now is if we come over here to our view once again, we want to be able to hide or show some buttons up here depending on what we're doing. We're going to reuse this form that we've already used to add classifieds. We're going to reuse it for editing. So when we're making edits to a classified, we want to show this save edit button. But if we are adding in new classifieds, we don't want to show it. Rather, we want to show this save button. So let's use some of those directives that we already know about to do that. What we can use is ngIf, which again is going to remove or add something to the document object model based on a condition. And in this case, we'll say if we are editing, then we want this button to be added to the DOM. And for our save button, we will say put this in if we are not editing. All right, so since we're using this side nav for our editing, what we'll do is open it up whenever we're editing. So let's come back over here to our controller and we will say that we want to open the side nav. So let's just call scope open sidebar. All right, so let's save this and let's check it out in the browser to see what's going on. So we'll refresh, and if we come down here to one of our classified ads, let's go to the admin area and let's click edit. There it is, the side nav is opened up. And we've got our save edit button, but we don't have the save button, so that's perfect. That's just what we wanted. And we can still close it out just fine. All right, so what do we need now? Well, we need to be able to bring in the data for a given classified to this form so that we can actually make an edit to it. Right now, we're just getting blanks in here. And so if you remember back over here in our template, what we're doing is we are passing through to that edit classified method the currently iterated over item. And so we've got our ng repeat here. This current classified is being passed through to the edit classified method here. And we can pick that up on the other side over here in our controller. So what we'll do is we'll say scope.classified equals a classified that comes through here. We just have to add it as a parameter. And so just as a reminder, this classified object that we've put on scope comes through over here in the view in the form. Remember that we have this classified object that is on our ng model for each of these input elements. And then we've got each of the properties that are on that object. So because we've attached it through ng model here on our input elements, we've got access to it from scope, and we can call it by saying scope.classified. So in this case, that classified object is going to be equal to the object that we're passing through. And so just to not get confused about naming, we could just as easily have called this classified for editing, and then we could put this right here, and then that would line up this scope.classified object with whatever's coming through. But again, because we like to keep things a little bit generic, let's just say this is going to be called classified instead. All right, let's test that out. Let's go back over to the browser and refresh. So if we make that same edit click, we see now that we've got all of the data coming through in our form. And what we'll see is because we have two-way data binding going on, which is a feature of Angular, we are able to see things change immediately. So take a look down here at the classified. If we just take out any of the text there, it's immediately taken out down here in the classified. So really, all that we need to do to make an edit in this kind of faked out way of dealing with data is we just need to modify our data model by making changes to it in something like a form. And so then if we were to click away, everything would remain the same. We've changed our data model, and that change is kept here in our current browser session. Now, of course, if we were to refresh, we get the original back because we don't have any data persistence going on yet. Now, if we were to try to use the save edit button, we'd find that we don't get anything happening right now. So let's come over here. If we do save edit, everything just stays in place. So let's make that button do something. Let's go back over here to our controller, and we'll put another method here on scope. We'll call this one save edit. All right, and so in our save edit method, the first thing that we want to do is we want to say we're no longer editing a classified. So we'll say scope.editing is equal to false. Then, much like we did up here in the save classified method, which deals with adding new classifieds in, we need to clear the form. So we'll just grab this line here that says scope.classified should be an empty object. And that's just going to clear out that form. Next, we will want to close the sidebar. And once again, we can use scope.close sidebar. And just like we put in a toast to show a message to the user, we can do the same thing here to say that the edit has been saved. But instead of copying all of this out and then just pasting it into our save edit method, why don't we create a function so that we can just make it reusable? Let's go down here and make a new function. And this function is going to be called showToast. And in the showToast function, let's just grab all of this. We'll actually cut it out of our save classified because we'll make use of it thereafter. And we will put all of that logic for showing a toast into this function. And the function will accept an argument which is going to be the message we want to pass through. And so then instead of our content being something like a hard-coded string, like what we have here, we can actually just pass that message there. And now we have a reusable way to show toast, but we can actually pass in whichever message we like. So now let's make use of this. Up here in the save classified method, let's say we want to show that toast, and we'll say classified saved. And then we'll do something really similar down here in the edit, in the save edit method. We'll say that the edit was saved. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. We've now got a function that deals with showing our toast, and it's got all of the logic in there that handles the toast. We could, of course, make this even better by passing in another argument, which would be something like the delay, and then we could pass a custom delay into here, but I'm just going to leave that for now. Feel free, though, to put in your own logic if you like. All right, let's check this out now. Let's go back over here to the browser and refresh, and we'll do an edit on this one again. And let's say we just want to remove the word jacket. Let's save edit. Oh, and we need to actually attach that method to our ng click on this button. So let's go back over and do that here in our template. So let's find that save edit button, and we'll just look for it like this. Here it is. And we can just do ng click is equal to save edit. All right, let's try this one more time. So admin, edit, we'll remove this word jacket, save edit, and there we go. Edit has been saved. We get a little bit of jumping around here just because the screen size is compressed a little bit, but the message did come through just fine. All right, so that's all we need to do right now for editing. Let's now put in some functionality for deleting ads.